What's going on, everyone? It's Omar Almodovar here with Elite Recruits. In today's video, we have a very special family, one of our very own, to join us to talk about the recruiting process, the transfer portal over the summer, and their overall experience and what advice they have for families out there. Jack, if you want to take it away, tell them your name, where you're from, what position you play, what school you were at when we first connected, and very clear where you go to school now.
All right. My name's Jack Balser. I'm from Wayne, Pennsylvania, and I originally was at Widener University, a Division III school, playing outfield, and I transferred to Quinnipiac University out of the transfer portal, and I play outfield and first base.
Absolutely. So let's take it back a little bit. Before we started working together and before we even connected, what was going on with your career at that point, and what made you decide to enter the transfer portal?
So for me, I played 2 pretty good years at Widener University, and I was a little bit stuck on deciding like, hey, am I going to do my next 2 years here, or am I going to try to move on to the next level? And part of my decision-making process was I wanted to play professionally past college, and I just wanted to play a higher level of baseball. So that's kind of when I was able to turn to you, Omar, and you kind of guided me the right way. I had an idea of how everything worked, but it's pretty hard to understand the transfer portal, especially with how many guys are going in it now. So you were able to kind of guide me through that and like let me know what's right and wrong and what exact way to go through everything.
100%. And even before we get to the specifics of the portal and, me helping you, I want to take it back a little bit because this is something that is also super helpful for a lot of players out there. And more than ever before, I'm seeing this today where your goal is to play professionally. There's no secret that the best way to play professionally is, getting scouted at Division I school. But you still got there, but that's not necessarily where you started, right? Maybe you had the tools coming out of high school. Obviously, you dealt with injuries and different things, but being at a Division III where you got the chance to play every single day and develop is what allowed you to get to where you are today. So can you talk a little bit about just, how important it is to go where you're wanted at first and develop before just trying to squeeze yourself in somewhere that, it's not the right fit right away?
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, I had the tools out of high school, but I was injured and I was a little underdeveloped and undersized. And I had 2 offers out of high school. And instead of trying to go like, walk on at a Division I school, which obviously was my dream, I went where I was wanted, which was D3 Widener, which I'm so thankful for. And what it gave me was the opportunity of I can develop my skills, I can develop my talent. I can take that 2 years to get bigger, to get stronger, mechanically get better. And what it was also is I have, 300, 350 career at bats at the college level now. And that's something that, coaches at the next level are definitely going to take into account when they're looking at guys is, this guy has played a lot of baseball and that's important. And just being able to, lay that groundwork is I've learned to adapt to situations and how to react in certain spots. And, I'm really thankful that that was the route that I took.
Exactly. And I think it's really important. So what you have right now is called a track record, right? You're not going in there, to a place where, hey, you fit baseball wise and you're a D1 program, but nobody knows what you're able to do. And then a small sample size in the fall or in the winter, right before season starts is what coaches have to go off of. No, you have 2 years 350 at bats of showing what you can do as a player. And then same thing goes for scouts at the next level. Well, you're a guy that got to college and you were ready to play right away because obviously you got the opportunity to play every single day. And that's what's going to allow them to make a decision on if you're a guy that's ready for the next level, right? Not just 1 year of good stats at a D1 is what has he done year after year. And that's a really mature thing to do to go to a D3, develop, and then get the chance to move up. So as a family, once we got started, we all talked about what the goal was. We put together a game plan. Obviously, academics are really important. Location was important. Finding the right fit. Can you guys, as a family, talk a little bit about how important it was to actually have a game plan and guidance rather than just figuring it out on your own?
Well, you want to take that?
Yeah, Omar, we're your biggest fans.
I appreciate you guys.
For sure. I think the peace of mind that this process brought to our family, because you were able to talk to Jack about, here's your homework for the week. Find, these 20 schools, research them, and you even gave kind of templates of how to reach out to them. And then as he was starting to hear back, you could tell Jack, keep pursuing that, or maybe this isn't the right fit for you. Uh, it's such a brutal process because it's musical chairs, but there's like hundreds of people that don't get a chair at the end. And so for us, it was the full package of that peace of mind, but also getting an amazing placement far above what we were expecting.
For sure. I think and I give you guys a ton of kudos for this, and this is to all the families watching too, is really understanding the process. And it's called a recruiting process for a reason, where a lot of, players and families, they expect results right away, right? That wasn't necessarily the case. There was a lot of schools that you talked to, Jack, a lot of schools that came and watched you play, and they didn't necessarily think you were the right fit for them. It's very easy to fold under that pressure and just call it quits, or get frustrated. And as frustrating as it may have been during some times, you still stuck with it, right? And because you stuck with it, you ended up getting the opportunities that you got. And that's something that you don't learn that from one day to the next. That's something that you're raised that way, and you're, overcoming adversity. Even after having those stats and playing in a good summer league, there's still a lot of stuff that you had to overcome to get to where you are today. So that's kudos to you guys as a family, and trust in the process, that it's not magic. It's like you said, Mark, musical chairs. And a lot of people don't get a C at the end of the day. Those people that don't end up getting a C, they didn't do things the right way in the weeks and months prior to that. And that's something that you guys stuck with the work day in and day out, specifically you, Jack, obviously. But a lot of players and families, they might be watching this, and they wonder what it's actually like inside the program. For you guys as a whole, how would you describe, the support, the communication, and your overall experience?
Well, the one thing that I just wanted to say is the whole idea of him going in the portal for me was like I was very nervous. And at one point, Jack was saying, "Oh, you know what? I think I just might be able to figure this out on my own." And then after we all talked to you and felt like you were going to be a good guide for him and for our family through the process, it just made everything feel so much better. And like we were giving him the best opportunity possible to have a chance to maybe find a spot. We knew it wasn't guaranteed. And it did go pretty long into the summer for us, and that was okay. But we really feel like it gave him the best chance to hopefully find a spot, and he did. And you were very supportive. I mean, because you and Jack worked so much together, and I felt like that really let me definitely, and Mark also, like just take a step back, where we didn't have to be hounding him and being like, what's going on, what does this mean, what do we do now, this is crazy. Like you were always there to be like, here's how we're gonna do it. And again, you were communicating a lot with Jack, and so that was just very helpful to us to not have to be on him like, what are you doing, let's go. It was kind of like, do what Omar tells you to do.
For
Yeah,
sure.
Omar, you probably remember every week or two I reach out to you by text so I could ask you a question that I wanted to ask Jack, but it just would have like raised the pressure on it. And basically my question is everything going to be okay? And you were always able to counsel us.
100%. Yeah, and that's important because as it is, hey, he had the 2 great years of stats, but he's still being evaluated every single day in the summer. And there was no secret to it, right? Like, Jack, you're under a lot of pressure. Obviously you didn't have the stats that that you were capable of right away in the summer, while still trying to find the next fit for you. Anything else on top of that is just added pressure that you don't need at that time. And it's a lot as a player, right? You made a very risky decision to bet on yourself. And, it doesn't always seem like it's working out at the moment, but by being able to tell you guys, hey, I've seen this before, I've seen worse before, it's okay, and trusting the process, because like you said, like no secret, it took a while, right? But you guys understood that that was part of the process. And my promise to you guys was there's no guarantees in this. I can't make the decision for a coach, but my guarantee is that I'm going to be here every single step of the way to make sure that there's no rock that goes unturned. And that's literally the perfect example of what happened. And I'm a big believer in God. I'm sure you guys are as well. Everything happens for a reason, whether the timing of it, the specific school, because we're talking about it now. It's the end of the fall. And Jack, you couldn't picture yourself at a perfect fit, at a more perfect fit. So let me ask you guys, when we first connected, were you guys, and speak honestly, unsure about working with somebody online that you had never met before or paying for recruiting help? And what ultimately changed your minds?
Yeah, I mean, I can start. At first, to be honest, we were kind of like, I kind of thought I could do it myself. Like it might sound kind of bad, but like I thought I was good enough to do it myself. And then kind of in talking to them, and then like that first, like those first couple days I went in the portal, I was like, wow, this is like overwhelming. Like I'm not really sure what to do. And kind of when we talked to you, you were able to, guide us in like, hey, you know, this coach might not be telling you the exact truth, or just things like that, and kind of guiding us the correct direction. And I think that opened my eyes and their eyes too to like, okay, this might be a little tougher than we anticipated. And at first it was like, working with someone online, I was like, I don't know about that, but it ended up being like extremely helpful, and yeah.
And it didn't hurt that you had worked with Nick Barron's, one of
Yeah,
Jack's former teammates, and we
absolutely.
were able to see him transfer Division I level and really like blossom. Like his numbers were even better at D1.
Mhm.
So that was a big feather in your cap.
100%. And if Jack's numbers are even better at D1 as they should be, then we're gonna be. We'll do this again after the draft next year. But yeah, no, to your point, Jack, you were good enough, right? Like you did have the numbers to back you up. Even being good enough doesn't guarantee in today's market that you
Yeah.
have those opportunities, because it's not just about who's the better player. It's about which one do the coaches know about, which one do they know about consistently, which information are they getting faster in front of them, right? Because the market, especially during the summer, it moves really quickly, especially for coaches that are extremely busy. So it's not just about being a good player. It's about having the right platform to get you in front of them and being able to communicate with them consistently. I think one of the more key parts for you too was just knowing exactly when to follow back up with them, when to reach out, because they already knew who you were and they knew that you were a good player, but maybe they hadn't talked to you in a week and a half and there was somebody else that came to mind. But once you follow up, well, the attention shifts to you. So I think little things like that definitely get overlooked. So if somebody is watching this and they're still on the fence about getting recruiting help or working with my team and I, what would you guys tell them from your experience?
I would say just you definitely have to do it. If you want to get your kid in front of, the people that need to see him, um, they're not going to be able to do that by themselves. And if you want to give them the best shot at, having a chance somewhere else, that's what it came down to for me personally. I wanted to give him every opportunity, to live out his dream and to be playing at a D1 school. And that's really what you did for him, because he wouldn't. I think he would still be at Widener if we hadn't gone to you. Honestly, I really do. So we're very very thankful, and you just do it. It'll be the best money you ever spend.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think like at the end of the day with the portal now, and just recruiting in general, is it comes down to who you know. And Omar is a great like middleman to talk to these people and get you connected with these people. And um it's almost impossible to do it by yourself right now. So I would just say, Omar's got the connections, so you got to go to him.
I appreciate you guys. Now, coming on the complete other side of it, now we can smile, we can be happy because we're far removed from the dreadful and headache of a process as it is. what's the biggest piece of advice, Jack, that you would give to a player that's, either going through the recruiting process out of high school or thinking of entering the transfer portal so that they can have the easiest path to success? And after that, for you guys as a family, what's the biggest piece of advice to another family that's about to go through the process?
To me, I would just say kind of two things. First of all, you can't really rush the process. Um, I think part of my issues, like at the start, was I was getting like a little antsy. So I think just making sure, keep playing like good baseball and like don't worry about what you can't control. I think that's really important. You can't worry about what other coaches think. You can't worry if you play bad in front of someone else. And I just think that's the most important thing. You can't get frustrated with it because it's a tough process.
100%. Yeah, everything happens for a reason. Like there were schools that you were interested in that the coaches came and saw you and you didn't have your best day ever. It's frustrating to have that happen, but you ended up exactly where you needed to be because you did exactly what you were supposed to do. And we can sit here and be proud and wear the shirts because that was the right fit for you. It wasn't when you wanted it, how you pictured it happen, but at the end of it, because you did what you were supposed to do, you got the result that you needed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sweet. What about for you guys, for a family out there that's about to go through the process? Any words of encouragement or wisdom?
Yeah, I think one thing that Mark and I did really well, and it was because we had you as a resource, was to, as parents, try not to be a source of pressure and anxiety for your child. They already are feeling enough pressure and anxiety in their own bodies themselves. And that was, I think, something that was very helpful for Mark. Like he was mentioning earlier, like when he would have a question or wondering like, oh, I really need to like check in with someone, instead of having to do it with Jack and create any kind of negative feelings around the process for him, he was able to go to you. And I just felt like that kept things, kind of as chill and like relaxed as possible. Because if you're just putting more anxiety on your kid or pressure, that's not going to help them do better. And so that was just something that I think is really, really important for families to remember how much pressure they really are under and how anxiety provoking the whole process can be. And to just as parents to not feed into that and to not be a source of that for your child.
I think that doesn't get talked about enough, and that's super important. I think that's not just for the transfer portal, but the recruiting process in general. As a player, you already know, hey, if you hear from Marla, hey, are you talking to any schools? You're like, no, mom, but I know I need to. Like that just adds some more pressure onto it when, we're all on the same page of what the goal is. So I think that's really important and doesn't get talked about enough. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to share this experience with everyone out there. Jack, for any players that want to follow along with your journey as you head into the season and maybe just want to reach out to you for advice in the future, where can guys find you on social media?
It's Jack_Balser on Instagram. And yeah, you could reach out to me whenever.
Sweet. All right, guys. Thank you so much for taking the time. Can't wait to see you guys. Want to talk about it here after the call in Jacksonville, hopefully this spring. And long overdue, but I'd love to get together here soon.
Yeah, it would be great.